Hello, and a very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, depending on where you are tuning in from in the world today. It's a pleasure to have you on here. Thank you ever so much for taking the time to join us today. Okay, so we are going to do an iOB business webinar. My name is Ben, and I'm the resident business coach here at iOB Business, and I will be the one taking you through today's presentation. Now, a little bit about how the webinar is going to run before we get kicked off. Once again, my name is Ben. Pleasure to meet you. It's wonderful to see people on here, faces that we've seen before, new faces that we haven't seen before. It's all wonderful. So a little bit about how these run. If you haven't joined one of these webinars before, it'll be good for you to know this. So we always do a brief introduction with myself before we get kicked off, just for a couple of minutes whilst we're waiting for everybody to join us. We're just approaching the 2 o'clock mark now, so it won't be long at all before we get kicked off. Now, what's important to note is throughout today's session, if you do have any questions or comments, or indeed want the opportunity to take notes, please feel free. Please understand that you're more than welcome to do that at any point in time. Now, what we can do is in between each of the three topics, I'm going to give you a brief pause and you can go ahead and jot down any notes and indeed ask any questions that you might need to ask. And that's exactly what that pause is for. So please do feel free to use it to ask questions, fire away with anything that you need to know on today's session, on marketing, on business growth, anything you like to ask on those topics. Okay. So in order to do that, there's a little gray box at the bottom of your screen. It's a Q&A on the bottom of it there. And you can go ahead and use that to ask questions. Okay, so just whilst we're getting set up for today, let me go ahead and put the presentation up on the screen. And I will switch off my video camera. So you should no longer be able to see me, but you should indeed be able to see the screen just fine and indeed hear my voice. So if I could ask a big favor of you just before we get kicked off, could you please just let me know if you can hear my voice okay, and if you can see the presentation up on the screen there. Wonderful. Okay, perfect. So looks like we're all set. Looks like we're all good to go. Thank you very much for the confirmation. Once again, it's a real pleasure to see so many new faces on here. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. So without sales, there is no business. Okay, so we skipped ahead there a little bit. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. So without sales, there is no business. Okay, now this is the title topic of today's webinar. Oh yeah, it's seemingly obvious, Ben. Of course, there are no sales. If there are no sales, then there is no business. Okay, but I want to dive deeper into this concept. So yes, the statement, of course, is obvious. Without sales, there is no business. Okay, the purpose of today, the fact of today, is that we're going to deep dive into exactly what that means and how it maybe runs a little bit deeper than what it looks like on the surface. So my name is Ben. I'm a business coach and I specialize in working with small businesses, just like many of you that are on here now, and helping them achieve stability and growth. This is my passion. This is what I love. And this is what I'm blessed to get to do every single day. Okay, now moving on to the three topics we're going to talk about today. Number one, we're going to discuss the basic conclusions of being a digital agency owner. Number two, we're going to discuss your priorities. Number three, we're going to talk about your ongoing mastery. Okay, so this really is a deep dive for the next 15, 20 minutes about how we can master these things and how we can understand and isolate them. Okay, so let's begin with the basic conclusions of being a digital agency owner. Now, once again, please do remember that at any given time, you can fire a question in. I won't get it right away, but I will get it at the end. We're going to do a brief Q&A session after today's presentation where we'll answer all the questions that you have. We always get a couple, and it's always a pleasure to answer them. So don't feel shy. Understand that you're more than welcome to ask questions. It's an absolute pleasure to answer them. And you can have probably the best opportunity to do that is in between each of the three topics that we're going to talk about today. Okay, so beginning with topic number one, the basic conclusions of being a digital agency owner. Okay, so let's have a look at this. What does it factually mean? Okay, what are the inclusions of being a digital agency owner? And if I was to be a digital agency owner, what would that mean to me and what would it include? Okay, so of course, the first and foremost thing that we're going to discuss is the fact that you would be handling a business entity. Okay, a digital agency is a business. That comes, of course, with all the inclusions of what it takes to run a business. It takes discipline, routine, determination to succeed. It takes having a vision in some components. It takes an understanding of sales, marketing, operations, finance, occasionally human resources, team management, management skills, all of these wonderful things. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, so here's what I'm going to put forward to you. Okay, it is not something that you need to learn overnight. It doesn't need to happen here and now. It is very much something that is an ongoing and learning process that many of us learn and develop as we go along. Nobody knows everything there is to know ever, and nobody knows a sufficient amount of information or everything that they feel like they need to know right off the bat. Okay, we all learn, we all develop, we all grow within ourselves and develop something beautiful in front of us. Okay, if we do it right. And this beautiful thing in front of us could be a thriving, successful digital agency business. Okay, so let's look at the handling of a business entity. Okay, sales. So of course, this is an obvious thing, something that we spoke about. Sales and sales inclusions are speaking with clients, prospecting clients, looking for sales opportunities, understanding what it is that you're selling, why you're selling it, how you're going to sell it, how much you're going to sell it for, what that means for your business, how many sales you need to make in order to support your business. So when we're talking about handling a business entity, this is very much one of the things that we look at. Moving on to marketing. Okay, now we covered an overview just very slightly earlier about what handling a business entity overall means. And now we're deep diving a little bit into each of the individual topics. So marketing in this context, we would look at, well, how do we define ourselves first and foremost? Because before we do any kind of marketing, and marketing isn't just advertising, okay? Marketing is about far more than simply advertising, okay? And there may be an occasional misconception that marketing and advertising are the same thing. Okay, they're not. Marketing is about encompassing your brand, your business, and putting it forward, or whatever it is that you're marketing as a whole. The advertising is simply the action of when you're putting it out to potential audiences. Okay, so the marketing, first and foremost, we've got to begin by thinking, who are we? Why are we what we are? Okay, why are we here? Who are we here to serve? Why are we doing what we're doing? What purpose are we serving? What problems are we solving? Who might be interested in working with us? How can we capture the eyes of our audience when we need to? How can we please the people that we work with? How can we achieve great things for them? Okay, marketing is all encompassing in all of these things. It's about building a brand that isn't just what it says on the tin. It's about building a brand with meaning. It's something behind it. Being a business, if it's in the business marketing context, being a business that serves for a purpose. Okay, we define who we are. We look at things like core values, and we help others understand what these are. So when you're looking at handling a business entity, it's not really as simple as, let's just do an advert and sell something. Okay, we've got to think a little bit deeper. Now with the operations, looking at what this can include team management. This can include physically implementing the work that we've agreed to do for a client. This can include managing our systems that do things automatically for us. This can include time management. This can include any kind of complaints or difficult situations where the operations department takes care of these things. Okay, operations, I love to say this, they're the backbone of a business, the operations department. They keep things ticking, they take care of the business. So operations is very much this kind of viewpoint on the business of, well, look, we're here to look after you, we're here to look after the business, so that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay, and finance, this is of course the financial management, managing the cash flow, making sure the cash reserves are strong, making sure that you're budgeting your money well, making sure that whatever you're spending money on, that the money is well spent and is providing some kind of return for the business, even if not a direct return, that every penny spent, especially in the offset, is a valuable penny spent. We never want to be wasting resources, wasting funds. So very much so when we're looking at handling a business entity, finance is a big thing that we look at, because we need to be aware that if we don't manage our finances properly, that is additionally, as well as sales not being good or marketing not being good, finance can be just as destructive if not managed appropriately, and it can bring down businesses on its own. And it's a really, really sad thing and something that can be avoided. So we've got organizational skills and acumen. Okay, this is a big part of managing anything, not just a business. But if you want to manage a business, you're going to have to understand that organizational skills and acumen, they're very, very important, and they're really at the forefront of everything that we stand for when we're looking at organizing and setting up a business correctly. Because in order to structure a business, it requires organization and the acumen of understanding, what do I need to do, when do I need to do it, and how do I need to do it? These are all very important steps as well. Okay, so having organizational skills will help you map out A, what you need to do for your business, B, when you need to do these things for your business, and C, how you can organize your systems and your business and your workforce, your team behind you effectively, okay, to achieve what it is that you want to achieve. So organizational skills, it's not just putting files in the right place or making sure that a calendar looks nice. It's about far more. It's about an overall understanding that in order for things to run smoothly, they have to be organized. Okay, we don't want to end up being really, really busy and achieving nothing. Okay, we want to be essentially the reverse. We want to be spending less time being busy and achieving an awful lot more in a much shorter space of time, because we're organized. We come at it with a structured and cogent approach. Okay, social skills and ability. Now, some have this naturally, others develop this as a trait, if you like. The social skills and ability component really kicks in when we have to be able to converse with our team members. We have to be able to communicate what it is that we want and what we need. Okay. In addition to that, it comes down to speaking with prospects and clients in sales situations, sales atmospheres where we feel like potentially I'm not communicating this well enough, or actually I don't feel overly comfortable doing this. Okay. Now, without sales, there is no business. So we need to make sure that we at least ask ourselves to try and develop the ability to speak comfortably with prospects when we're looking at selling our business. Okay. We're selling our services from our business. We need to sell. If you've heard the expression sell yourself, it means sell everything that's wonderful about you. And hopefully that'll encourage somebody to want to either make a partnership or do a deal with you or whatever it is that the end goal is there. So social skills and ability, some have a natural gift for talking. Some have a natural gift for being more social. Others, they could struggle with these situations. Now, one or the other, never to say that it doesn't need work or it couldn't do with improving. Always worth looking at, is that a skill that I could refine and be better with? Okay. So I'm going to give you a moment now, just at the end of topic number 1 there, to fire away any questions. Thank you so much. Just got one in there. And please go ahead, jot down anything that you need to write down, and I will be right back with you in just a brief moment there. Okay, wonderful. So hopefully you've had a chance now to do that, and we can dive on to topic number 2, your priorities. Okay. So priority number 1, always income producing tasks. So without sales, there is no business. Okay. Now, what is an income producing task defined? Not all the time, but most of the time, an income producing task could be associated with sales. Okay. That's why we're talking so heavily about this today, because an income producing task is essentially something that brings income, whether directly or indirectly, to the business. So to give you an example of an income producing task, one example would be setting up an advertising campaign. Okay. To an advertising campaign to hopefully bring more eyes to your business and hopefully get these eyes to do business with you. Okay, theoretically. So with that theory in mind, does that directly produce income? Arguable point, perhaps, but you could say that it's an indirect form of income producing tasks, because that exact thing at that point in time is not bringing in income to the business, but you're spending time on it so that you can essentially tee up the ball. If you imagine it as a golf ball, you're teeing up the ball in order to be hit down the fairway and therefore earn the income that you need. Okay, because without advertising campaigns, people don't know that we exist. Therefore, how can they expect to do business with us? Now, a direct form of income producing tasks is quite literally taking payment for something. Okay, or potentially we could even say a direct way of describing, a direct way, of an income producing task is somebody interacting with a prospect that could eventually become a client. Okay, because what's going to happen when that client signs, they're going to start paying money towards the business. So it's an income producing task. Okay, it's something that will bring earnings, cash, money, income to the business. Okay, it's an income producing task, and there can be direct or indirect methods of this. Okay, so of course, state the obvious, income producing tasks result in revenue for the business. Okay, now revenue for the business, this is money earned, money that's coming in through the door. Okay, we need this to exist as a business. Without income, without revenue, we do not exist. There is maybe in a literal sense we do, but we're not going to be around very, very long if we are not producing income, if we're not producing revenue for the business. Okay, this is just absolutely top tier priority. Now, the reason I say this, and the reason that it may be a seemingly obvious point, but something that's important that we discover together and we explore, is because as a business coach, I have seen priorities take elsewhere in businesses that have been trying to grow, but they are very focused on something else and therefore distracted themselves from the actual income producing tasks. For example, if it's somebody that enjoys being organized, they may inadvertently spend more time organizing their files and making their desktop look clean than they do working on sales. Okay, now this is not a conscious usually or deliberate move, but it's something that we're not aware of. We could actually end up running ourselves into the ground business-wise in a business context, because we're not actually paying full attention, again, not purposely, but we're not massively aware of the fact that this could be destructive. The fact that I am not focusing on income producing tasks right now, and I'm instead choosing to organize my files or fix an error in the system that's non-vital. Okay. Now, this is a very, very important analysis to make of, let's look inward and think, do we ever spend time doing something that we probably don't need to be doing? Okay. Now, if you've already hit your financial target for that day, week, month, year, that's fine. By all means, do the tasks that don't produce income. If that makes you happy, that's something that you choose to do, choose to organize. But income producing tasks result in revenue for the business. Okay. So if you're ever unsure, if you're ever a little bit panicky, if you're ever a little bit disoriented, I suppose, in the business context of something's happening or something's going wrong and you can't quite pinpoint it, my suggestion would be to take yourself back to the income producing segment of the business. Is it turning over enough money? Okay. Are you bringing enough money into the business? Now, the reason of saying that is most of the time in a business world, more income can assist the business in becoming stronger. Okay. In whichever way it is. So if you've got a faulty system, one that doesn't work, but you don't have the funds to invest in a better one, more income could help with that. Okay. If you need help team-wise, you're struggling to deliver everything that you have on your own, more income could help with that. It could help you hire somebody to help you with that. Okay, so just a couple of very, very specific examples about how more income could help the business. Okay, so often we don't see the problem, but most of the time, not in every sense, most of the time, we do find that income is resulting in whatever other problems there are in the business. And we find that actually with that extra money, not all the time, as we say, but a lot of the time we can fix that with additional income. Okay. Like I said, you're spending too much time at work. You haven't got anybody else working with you. Your systems are letting you down. Your old equipment or technology is letting you down. Frustrations are building. You need a better car. Any of these things, would more income help with that? Probably yes. Okay. So with this revenue, you can develop your other departments. You can develop sales teams. You can develop marketing teams. You can develop ops teams. You can develop finance teams. You can develop assistants, secretaries, anybody who could help you manage and become more effective within your business. And with this revenue, your potential becomes more and more released, if you like. You're not shackled by low income. You're not restricted by things that you can't do because of finances. So if your mind shifts onto, I need to focus on income producing stuff for the business. I need to be prospecting clients. I need to be working on ad campaigns that are going to do great and they're going to bring in lots and lots of good results, I hope. Okay. Now, the best you can do is forecast that. All right. No guarantees, as I always say. But if you spend your time market research, advertising campaigns, fresh ideas, delivering services that really, really benefit somebody else or another business, this is all effective behavior. It is behavior that will help you ultimately grow. Okay. It'd be very difficult for you to not grow if you're spending all your time trying to find the right clients for your business, working on great campaigns, getting your brand awareness out there, delivering an impeccable service for the people that do work with you. Okay. If you're truly dedicated to this effort, you would even struggle, perhaps, might I say, to not grow. Okay. So it's something that you very much want to be aware of. Now, without revenue, there is no business. Sales is always number one focus. So if I had to hammer home a final point, let's just say here at the end of topic number 2, we're nearing the end now. Without revenue, there is no business. Sales is number one focus. It has to be, because if it isn't, the rest is non-existent. There is no marketing. There is no budget for marketing. There is no operations because there's no work, because there have been no sales have been made. There is no finance to manage because no income's coming through the door. Sales really, really, really do set the precedent for the rest of your business. Okay. So I'm going to give you a moment, please, and go ahead and ask away with any questions, and indeed jot down any comments or any notes that you would like to take. And I will be right back with you in a very, very brief moment there. Okay, wonderful. And let's move on to the third and final topic of today, your ongoing mastery. So this is, how can we absolutely capitalize on the information that we've learned today? And how can we continue to utilize that as a productive arsenal for us to continue utilizing going forwards? So number one, once you have mastered sales, you begin to produce turnover. Okay, this is your ongoing mastery. So if you dedicate yourself to, how can I hunt for the right prospect? How can I assess the correct market? Who is the ideal client for our business? What's my demographic? Okay, so demographic is age, business type, gender, geographical location. Okay, all of these different things, they come into effect. Now, occasionally you might find that geographical location is relevant, Gender can be irrelevant, age can be irrelevant. We're looking at it in a business to client context or business to customer context. Okay, if it's a direct thing, sometimes these are more relevant. Okay, for example, if you're selling children's toys, okay, you want that demographic to be a child who would enjoy the toy. Okay, now this is what you see on TV adverts or things like that. Okay, that most of the time the adverts for children's toys are aimed at making children happy. So then the children ask their parents for the toy. Okay, so ultimately that campaign is serving two purposes. It's making the child want the toy for Christmas or their birthday, and it's making the parent acknowledge the fact that their child wants this. Okay, so it's aimed at both children and parents. Now, if we're looking at age in another context, okay, if you are looking at selling, say, an expensive car, then you would potentially want to aim at somebody who is a little bit older, okay, who is more likely to be able to afford that vehicle. Okay, it's just simple human behavior, consumer psychology actions. Now, using that context of demographics, if we switch it over to a business to business context, we want to make sure that in fact we are looking at the additional demographics of who is the business owner, what does the business turnover, what is the revenue, what does it make, okay, how much money do we need it to earn in order to afford the service that we offer, what do we need that business to look like, which industry is it in, which niche is it in, what services do they offer to their clients, okay, do they sell toys, do they sell cars, you know, what is it that we're looking to achieve here? So you see, the reason that this is important to understand is because although your client, because you're in the marketing world, because your client might be business to business, but their client or customer could be business to consumer, it's actually important that you understand B2B and B2C, okay, business to business and business to consumer. Now, what's important is that you see this as a track. You see this as an all the way through exercise. My client is business to business, but their client, who I'm going to be marketing on behalf of, right? Or essentially you're marketing on behalf of that business to their B2C, business to consumer customers. So in effect, you need to understand business to consumer psychology, okay, to an extent, because if you're going to market, you know, monster trucks and remote control cars and, you know, doll houses and all these things for kids, you need to understand, okay, what shall we position this as? Is it the biggest toy coming out at Christmas? Is it, you know, what is it? Now, additionally, if you're selling healthcare products, if you're selling shoes, if you're selling women's clothing, you're selling men's clothing, you need to be aware of the demographic you're speaking to. You also need to be aware of how to manage your own B2B client. So once you've mastered sales, you begin to produce turnover. Now, that was a very, very in-depth discussion or explanation as to how mastering sales can begin to come into effect. So you'll see it's about far more than simply saying to somebody, hello, would you like to buy my product? You have to think about the end result, not only for you, but also for them, okay? Construction clients, physical product clients, e-commerce clients, retail clients, they're very much, okay, you will find that in many ways, a lot of them are B2C, okay? Now, that is in your context of you operate a B2B, they operate B2C, not all the time, but an awful lot of the time, okay? That's why they're asking for marketing help from you. So mastering sales includes being able to market your digital agency well, okay? So in order to sell something, we must be able to market something effectively as well, okay? Now, not all the time, but an awful lot of the time, we need our brand and our business to have a great image. Now, by image, I mean, when you look at something, what do you see? Okay, you will decide whether it's good or bad, negative or positive, happy or sad. So what we need is to paint an image of your business that is productive, that is healthy, that is happy, and it's a good environment to be in. So mastering sales includes being able to market your digital agency well, because if you cannot market well, you may not get the opportunity to sell. Now, without selling, there is no marketing, and it could be a bit of a chicken and egg situation, where in the marketing world, you need to be able to market your business effectively, albeit most likely and in the early stages organically, or, you know, with as little cost as possible, to then have the opportunity to sell. But then if you don't sell, you haven't got much of a budget for marketing, okay? So the chicken and egg, okay? But focus on that situation that when you're selling, you're also marketing. When you're marketing, you're also trying to sell. Now, including expense management and delegation, you will begin to improve your cash flow management skills, okay? So when this turnover begins to come into effect, we've mastered sales, we're able to market our digital agency well, including our expense management, in other words, managing budgets effectively, delegating certain tasks, you'll begin to improve your cash flow management skills. Okay, so expense management and delegation is very much about how do we manage these budgets? What kind of help do we look for? How much do we pay for help if we need it within the business? Okay, that you will begin to potentially even inadvertently or subconsciously improve your cash flow management skills, because we need to keep the cash flow in a positive state, because if it goes into a negative state, then we find ourselves actually running out of money instead of making it. Okay, so these are all fantastic skills that you will pick up as a result of bringing money into the business. But again, we cannot understand how to manage money unless it is coming to us. We cannot budget, we cannot control, we cannot manage what we don't have. So if income and money is coming into the business, it then begins to teach us, or we teach ourselves, and we can look at other resources, of course, but how to manage our cash flow. We decide what to spend it on, we decide what budgets we're going to set, we decide how much to keep aside, we decide how much we're going to take for ourselves. Okay, it's all about cash flow management. So you'll not master a business overnight. It takes time, education, and experience. It's something we've said before. We said right at the beginning of the webinar today. It's not something that comes overnight, and it shouldn't be an intimidating thing. It should be a wonderful thing that you can grow with, develop, and enjoy the experience. So that now brings us to the end of topic number 3 and the end of today's webinar. Now, very briefly before the recap, I'm going to give you an opportunity to go ahead and fire away any final questions. You'll also get the opportunity in the Q&A, but please feel free to jot down any final notes. I'll leave that slide up there for just a minute, and I'll be right back. Okay, perfect. So moving on to the recap for today. Number 1, understand what sits at the core of your business. Okay, understand the inclusions of what it means to be a digital agency and therefore a business owner. Number 2, prioritize income producing tasks. Without income, there is no business. And finally, focus on mastering earning income for your digital agency and allow the rest to come together by the assistance of your income. Okay, so as always, a huge thank you for attending today. It's been a real pleasure presenting to you. Okay, now if you would like to, you're more than welcome to talk to a member of our team. You can head over to iob-business.com/talk-to-us and book a call at any time that suits you. An example of the calendar below there. You can go ahead, you can pick a date and a time, and you can book in a call with us. Okay, so I'm going to leave that link up on the screen for you there, and I'm going to answer some of the questions from you lovely people that I have. Okay, so first question I've got here, how will I ever know if I've mastered sales? Okay, cool. So there's no specific benchmark for this. The guide that you can use is how well you are meeting the financial targets that you set for yourself. It's probably the simplest way to put that. So when I define mastering sales, I would say if your goal is to earn £2,000 per month, are you earning £2,000 per month by way of new business or existing business? If so, you can consider yourself very, very good at what you need to be. So I'm not saying that you're the best. I wouldn't like to say that anybody is the best, but are you hitting and achieving your personal targets? Okay. That is how I would then define being a master of your own destiny, as it were. Maybe not that dramatic, but a master of your own business, a master of your own ambition. Okay. Thank you very much for the question. Hopefully that helps. Next question, what happens if I lose focus on sales? Okay, cool. So answer to this question, something we covered at the end, actually, which is why it's such a wonderful question. So you may not see an immediate change, but one of the biggest mistakes I see over the duration of a business is that when they stop focusing on the sales, their clients begin to slowly dissipate. Okay. Now, what happens is they've fallen behind on their lead generation, meaning the business slowly begins to leak revenue. Essentially, your cash flow enters a negative state without you potentially even realizing it. Because if we become too focused on essentially implementing the day-to-day, which is what many of us do, we actually forget, oh, well, this month, as in November, is fine, but I haven't thought about income for December or January or February or March. So if we lose focus on sales, we're not actually teeing up the ball anymore. We're just letting the ball sit. And for as long as that income is there, for as long as those clients are there, we're fine. But what happens after that? What happens after the client decides, okay, thank you very much, but I'm going to go somewhere else? You know, very rarely does a client ever stay forever, at least, you know, for a long duration of time. And we cannot rely on the existing business that we have. We always have to be looking for new business to help, you know, provide diversity for ourselves in terms of cash flow sources and where that money comes from. So another excellent question. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to explore that further with you, and I hope that that was valuable. So I'm just going to do another check and see that we don't have any more questions for today. Okay, doesn't look like we do. So once again, a very, very happy Wednesday to you. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your afternoon and a wonderful rest of your week. And I very much look forward to seeing you again on another iOB business webinar. Take care and bye for now.